Yes, that's right. Survivor season 40, episode 9. War is not pretty, and tonight's episode was certainly not pretty. Here again with Super Mater brothers. Dave Mater here and Jeff Mater here, here to break it all down and talk about this crazy episode that led to a real live tribal that we had tonight with Adam ultimately going home in just a crazy event of strategy, and you could see some personal animosity there definitely between Ben and Adam that I think kind of influenced both of their games. I don't think in a normal situation we would have seen what happened tonight. What do you think?
No, this was a bit of a wild one. I think that this season has really sort of lived up to its expectations. I think an episode like this really stands out as one that shows that like everybody's gunning for it. It's all no holds barred. Every man or woman for themselves. It was good. I'm always worried about like maybe two people. Mostly that's Tony and Kim. They were both safe tonight, so I was pleased with that. And Adam's time ran out. And by the end of tonight, I was ready to vote Adam out. I was like, Adam, you're done, man. I think he was having like remorse afterwards too. Once you see him at that scene at Extinction towards the at the end there, he's just like, oh, well, I thought that was an immunity idol, so I kind of overplayed myself. Yeah, no kidding, Adam. You just went wild in this episode. It was something else.
He's been doing this all season, though. Like he's saying, this person has an idol, that person has an idol. He's been bouncing back and forth like a friggin' crazy, like a mice hopped up on cocaine. Like he cannot sit still, and he cannot just like he eventually he was only in the game still because people knew he was an easy boot. So they just kind of kept him around. He says at the beginning of the episode tonight where he was like, I'm still here. It's like, yeah, you're still here, but you are in a terrible position. You're an easy boot. Whenever they want to get rid of you, they can.
Yeah, like we were last week, we were talking about like, okay, and then they brought it back this week, the lions and the hyenas, like the high profile players and the low profile players. And even though Adam is a high profile player, he is not a lion, he's a snake. And he's the snake got eaten tonight. I like that one. I should be on like a Survivor panel, or like I should be on Survivor.
Well, Canadians can apply now. So the whole episode for me boils down to one moment where he made a crucial mistake, and that's when they told him they wanted to vote Sophie out, and he goes, "No, I'd rather vote out Sarah." And once he had what's the guy who just came back name? I'm blanking.
Tyson.
Tyson.
He's yours. You have him in the draft.
I know. I just blanked for a second. Tyson, once Tyson was like, wait, so this guy just convinced all of us to do a plan that we didn't really want to do, which was to switch it and devote it on Sarah. And then they were able easily to like get everybody pissed off at him. Once he told what Ben found out, and once Tony found out that Sarah was the alternate plan, Adam's life in this game was over right then.
Oh yeah, like obviously, like Adam is kind of the architect of his undoing in a lot of ways here, as he is. Like it's kind of amazing he lasted this long. In a lot of ways, he narrowly escaped a number of votes early on, and I think it's time just ran out here. Like I think people are just tired of it. You can clearly tell that Ben was tired of him among most people. I think Ben's been with him for a while. I think they go back all the way to Sally, right? They've been together for the whole time.
Yes, Ben the whole time. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think now Ben is actually positioned himself really well, and I think that a lot of people should start looking at getting him out. But you can only get one at a time, and the problem, so they're like, we have to get everybody out. They're all bad. Every player here is bad for me until there's only one.
Which I think if anything that this season is proving, yes, they're all winners and they're all good players, but that's what we want on Survivor. We want all of them to be good players. Stop casting bad players. We don't care. We don't need to see bad players like Karishma last season. We didn't need her on the show.
Do you think they can tell who's going to be a bad player before they cast them?
I would hope so. I mean, I would hope they would figure out when they're casting these winners that like go look back at the casting process and go, okay, that was a good part. Or not even just the winners, but players that go far, like a Malcolm. I would hope that they were able to figure out, okay, semi socially intelligent players are what you want. People who are a little bit more socially awkward, or but then again, those players make good TVs, so they always want to like have that balance. But I don't know. I think most Survivor super fans would rather just really good gameplay, because it makes for much more fun episodes, and a lot more like live travels like we had tonight, which is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this modern era of the tribal council where everybody's going chaos. Like, I think the word council should be used very loosely from now on. I think it's just tribal smorgasbord. If Jeb Probst is the grand counselor of this tribal counselor, he is doing a very bad job. He has no order. Where's his gavel? Like, I don't know, just the fact that people could run around and whisper in each other's ears, like, is this making it more entertaining? I don't know. Like, they can do that all day, like when they're at their beach. So why do they do it right before, when they're sitting on stools and everybody's on the spot? Doesn't make sense.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they get sequestered on the way to tribal and they can't talk. Once they get to tribal, I mean, just think about having like 1 or 2 hours not knowing, if you don't know you're going home or you don't know who's going home. You have 1 or 2 hours to figure out what you want to say at tribal. You're going in your head, am I going home? You get paranoid. And then even if you know what's going on, you start second guessing, am I getting blindsided? Like, I could only imagine just those moments of an hour or two before tribal, especially when the moments when you do get to talk before tribal were chaotic, could only make your head stir and stir and stir, you know?
Well, if you go, especially with somebody like Adam, who clearly like thinks a mile a minute, right? And just think, and is obviously a wealth of knowledge of Survivor sort of lore and information, and he analyzes all of these players he's playing with in depth. So yeah, I imagine that like when they go to tribal council and they're like, hey, no talking for the next hour while we walk to this place, like that must be torture for him. So finally he gets to this tribal and he's just like, well, what's the plan and what's going on? And like, if you're going to blow it up like that much, like I think you just deserve to get voted out. Like even like Tony has to stop Adam in the middle of this tribal council and go, this is how it works. We all write it down, and then we go up there, we write it down, and then he counts it, and that's who gets voted out. Otherwise, we could all just say out loud who we're voting out, Adam. And
yeah, I know.
That would be it.
That was cringeworthy. The whole thing of him going, I am concerned that I am the person going home. And then he said, who's voting for me? And it was just silent. I think it was like 4 or 5 seconds of dead air in the episode. I don't think they've ever done that before in Survivor, where they show you, like, that was like real time dead air that happened at tribal. So that whole part was exciting. Now, who do you think voted for Nick? Because we know Adam voted for Sarah. So who were the 3 votes that went on to Nick?
Well, I think there was some splitting of the votes. You saw Tyson was complicit to some kind of plan, or they were going to split votes on Adam and Nick, I guess, because an idol was played or something. So, who voted with Adam? Like,
no, nobody voted with Adam. Nobody voted with Adam because Adam didn't vote for Nick. Adam voted for Sarah. They showed us that vote.
Oh, okay, so then everybody else. I feel like one could easily be Tyson, because I feel like Tyson, he was like, I'll do whatever you want, and if you just want me to be a hinky vote on Nick in case whatever, then I'll do that.
But okay, but I just wonder if who that block was that voted for Nick. Do you think it was maybe like Tyson, Jeremy, and like and I don't even know, because I figured Sarah, Tony, Sophie, Michelle, all those people I think would have voted Adam.
Yeah, probably. Right. Yeah, like, well, and Tony voted Adam, right?
I would imagine so, because he was coming after Sarah, and Sarah's like his closest ally, and it's like Sophie's close with Ben, and then the whole, there's kind of like that side of the tribe, and then the other side seems to be like Jeremy and Nick and Tyson, and it just seems like they're, like you said, like the big dogs, and that's
Lions.
The lions against the hyenas, and I think one of the like, you said he's a snake, but I think one of the hyenas kind of went. I don't see Adam as a big target, because I don't see him as generally liked amongst most of not only the jury but the players still left in the game as well.
Yeah, like we were talking last episode about who we thought was with who. I'm not sure how accurate that was because we were kind of thinking that like it was sort of Adam and Denise were maybe a pair and whatever, but
Denise might have been the person that voted Nick. That wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, I think Denise was in on it. I think that this is just testament to the fact that Denise is now flying under the radar and is going to like quietly cut people's throats.
She's gonna play. She's playing the Sandra game.
Yeah, in fact, she's like that's why she got rid of Sandra because she's like, I'm going to play your game and we can't both be playing that kind of game. Yeah, and like where's Sophie lie? I can't ever remember who she's with.
Sophie is with Ben. That's why
Sophie, Ben, Sarah. Okay,
I think those three are
and Tony.
No, and Tony. That's a 4. I think. That's the fact that like the Jeremys and Tysons don't see that yet, and they those are the players that need to go. At least one of them. I'm surprised by. How are they not seeing that group is tight? And that's too many people on the same side. Whereas I don't find like Jeremy and Tyson and some of these other players really aligned with each other. Just like, and I think they're going to pay for it. I think they're going to get picked off, and I think you're going to see. I think a final 3 with Sophie, Ben, and like Sarah or Nick or something like that's going to. That's what or Tony. I see something like that going down. I see those players are in the strong position going forward. To me, I think Jeremy's in trouble.
Yeah, well, if I would be like looking to get rid of Jeremy, if I wasn't with Jeremy, for sure. If I was out there,
even if I was with Jeremy, I might want to get rid of Jeremy.
He almost won. Well, like I don't think he did too well in the immunity, but he's always a strong player. He can really do quite a bit. He's a fireman. He's fit. Plus, he's got he's a dad, and I think he'll get a lot of votes if he makes it to the end. I think a lot of people are here going to vote for somebody that is more of a family person. Versus like maybe I don't know if Nick and Adam have kids, but I don't think that they would win against anybody who did. That's been the talk.
The jury, if you look at the jury, they're all older players that have families. That's what they would not necessarily respect, but that's maybe what they want to reward.
And it's what they'll value and we can talk about deserve it, just who needs it maybe a little bit and how you can maybe help the most people in some ways.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think any of them need it. They're all millionaires. I mean, all of them. Yeah, some of them are some of them are multi-millionaires. I mean, because you got Amber and Robert, definitely multi-millionaires. And and then I guess you could. Was anyone rich coming into the game? Already before they even won. Like I don't know.
Very likely, probably. I feel like people like Kim Spradlin were, and there were. There's other people out here that did
Sophie's a doctor, I think, so she's obviously pretty well off. Although she would have had a lot of student loans and all that kind of stuff, but that's a whole other thing.
Is she a doctor? I didn't know that.
I think so. I think she's a doctor. Yeah. She never talks about it. She never talks about her job on the show.
We barely see her on this show. Like she wasn't in this episode at all. Like a lot of this episode focused on Adam, I guess. And we had this Edge of Extinction scene where they all went on the hunt for this thing, right? For this what was it? Like a safe or unsafe thing, a 50-50 immunity idol. Now, was this something that could be played after you've been voted out potentially, or is it only it's sort of
no, you have to bring it to tribal, and then I think you have to play it like at the same time as an immunity idol, and then you have to flip it in front of everybody. I think that was what I gathered from it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you flip it in front of everybody. Yeah. So I get that it has a lot of value. It's just like it's another chance for you to survive another vote, right?
It's a 50-50 chance at an idol. Right. That's what it is.
So they effectively sent all of the Edge of Extinction people sort of on a Easter egg hunt for this thing, right? And so there would be when the fire tokens come back. What's the idea? That Parvati will then buy peanut butter with these fire tokens that she's made for her fellow Extinction Island mates, and they'll just
if I was on the Edge of Extinction, I would just kind of do what Parvati did and just be like what are we doing here? Like only one person's going to get to go back in the game. you might get a one fire token advantage, but there's going to be lots of chances to do that before they come back into the game to get another token. So I'd probably do the same thing. I'd probably just be like, you know what, if I can get as many tokens as I can, and then I could buy food and tell everybody, and then if I do go back in the game, I know I'll have the jury on my side, which is worth more than being shady about it.
So would you say you're in favor of this then, like kind of how they did this? Because they're basically starving the people on edge of extinction so that they will be motivated to sell things they find on the island, because to keep them entertained, the producers are getting them to like run around the island and look for things. And then you're like, okay, you found that thing. Congratulations. Now you can sell this to people who are in the game in order so that we'll give you a bit more food.
Yeah. And I think I think Parvati was super smart to do that, because Parvati is the type of player that if it's an endurance challenge on the next Edge of Extinction buyback, Parvati has a very good chance. I think Parvati, if she was still in the game, would have maybe beat Kim in the immunity challenge tonight.
Right. And I guess you could say that because all these people that she's giving the peanut butter to are jury members, right? Everybody here is going to get a vote to the final winner. If she does get back in the game, yeah, she's well positioned because she fed her starving jury members together, right? She sacrificed what she could have kept under her hat, right? Yes. She could have sold those fire tokens and just pocketed them, and assuming that they can be used down the road, maybe for advantages in like the buyback competition.
Yes. I just see Parvati as the type of player that if she comes back could win. Wouldn't surprise me just based off how good she is in endurance challenges, and that's usually what they kind of do at the end if she does come back into the game. And if she could win out, like to get to final 3, I could see something like that occurring. Like, what do you think the chances are the winner of the season is on the edge of extinction either now or was, like Tyson, or is still in the game now? Like, do you think it's like a 10% chance the winner went to edge? And there's still players that are like Adam just went to edge. There will be other players that are going to go to edge.
I think they'll know that, like the season, the first Edge of Extinction season, who won that? Chris Underwood, right? I think most people kind of like consider that season to be sort of not great because Chris Underwood was sort of voted out really early, lived on the edge of extinction for like the entire season. And then he kind of came back in right at the end, made a huge play, won the jury vote from respect he gained, but also for the fact that this whole format of Edge of Extinction requires that everybody who gets voted out is now on the jury. And everybody...
Right. But what Rob Cesternino made a good point about that nobody knew who Chris Underwood was. It was a new person season. Whereas this season, like if Ethan came back right at the end, I think everybody would be like cheer for Ethan. It just
because they like Ethan, he's a swell guy.
Yeah, just because it's the personalities. I think or if like Boston Rob came back, I think people would the audience would be cheering for that player to come back and win. Whereas Chris Underwood was barely on the show and won, and it was weird. It was just kind of a strange season. Everybody was cheering for Rick Devens. Everybody wanted Rick Devens to win that season. And all of a sudden, this guy comes in and out of nowhere beats him in a fire making challenge, and he deserves to win. It was not. I don't know. It was just odd.
Right. I wouldn't mind. Same thing with Devens and Tyson. They're this first one voted out, goes to edge, comes back. That person I have no problem with. That whoever that player is, like I'm fine with you getting voted out for a little bit. Come back in, but you're not out. Like Tyson, at the end of the day, Tyson was out of this game for 5 days. It wasn't. It was. It's not a huge part. Plus, he basically was impoverished. He was given nothing, and he had to sell his wares for a little bit of extra peanut butter in order to have some sustenance when he came back to the game and to win that challenge. I think ultimately that was a smart play by him, right? But now whoever this next player is, whoever the Chris Underwood version is, especially if that's like Natalie, or somebody who was voted out extremely early, like Amber. Like, is that satisfying? Is that who I want to see win the game? Probably not. That's not the story I want to tell. Versus like a Denise or somebody like that who's been playing hard this entire time, hasn't got it voted out yet.
I agree with you. I think it all depends on who it is, doesn't it? And maybe you're right. Maybe it is just who got voted out when. Like Lana got voted out first, but if Boston Rob had gotten voted out first and came back, there would still be people that would really cheer that, and really pull for him to come back and win. I wouldn't be. I think Boston Rob's a dinosaur and hasn't played very well at all this season.
No, he's
and
grumpy.
Yes, he is. And if he had come back in Tyson's spot, I think he'd already be back on edge.
I don't even know why Rob hasn't raised the sail. I don't know what he's waiting for exactly. I guess he just doesn't want to be a quitter. But
yeah, and I think Boston Rob and Amber, both of them, like probably said to each other, "We're going for the full experience here." Like, why, we all Survivor gave them a lot in their life. The least they could do is give them good TV, and they're doing that every now and then. I think Boston Rob's still good on the show. He's great in the jury. Tonight was amazing. With he's like, what do you say? Something like, whoever comes back from Edge is whoever comes to Edge is going to be
need therapy.
Need therapy. Yeah, that's what he said. And I think he knew Adam was going home.
Well, I think he's like, Adam is going to need therapy. Like Adam. Man, what's it gonna be like for him out there? I don't know how he's gonna survive on the edge. I guess he's got Rob to keep him sort of sane.
I don't think so. I think Rob will torment him. I don't think Rob will want to help him whatsoever. But he was Adam was the reason Rob went home.
True.
So
right, and then especially with Adam tonight at Tribal going like, Rob, I was so loyal to Rob. That's why I told him we were gonna vote out his alliance member.
Yeah. That was amazing. I was
That's
like,
Rob told him so that he would be happy with me later down. Like, and everyone's like, oh, right, I remember that. That was stupid. That's why we should not keep you around.
He has made more boneheaded decisions this season and has only been kept around because he's such an easy vote.
Right.
That's the only reason.
Well, I think there's something to say about Survivor in general. Like, I don't think Survivor is always just being like the smartest or the brightest or anything like that. Like, it's sometimes it's just like right place, right time. When like two countries go to war, you're caught on the like all these people are caught in the crossfire, and one happens to survive. That's not necessarily an accomplishment. It could just be luck. And I feel like Adam might have won his season partly based on luck and being right time, right place. I'm starting to respect Adam less after this season, especially after this episode, because I'm like, I don't think you're one of the great players ever. I don't think you deserve to win. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah, he's not. He's not my favorite player. I do think he's good TV. He really brings good drama. Whereas other players keep their cards way more close to the vest, like a Denise. Denise is boring TV.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is. Other than that tribal play she made, but that was only because Sandra put it right in her lap. And that was dumb on Sandra's part. And that just proved to me that Sandra's not this great mastermind player that everybody makes her out to be. She's good. She was very good at reading the situation that would be good for her, but she never was an aggressive player that got her way to the top by being aggressive. She was always passive. The last two times she played, she tried to be more aggressive. She lost both times. So obviously that didn't work for her. And again, you're seeing it doesn't work in this when they're all winners and they're all good. You see Rob play aggressive, gets voted out. Even Tyson, he was playing a little aggressive at one point. He got voted out. Now he's come back. He's played more passive. You have to play passive when the players are this good, because they're gonna look at threats.
And just who's making moves at who? Like who's trying to rally the troops? I feel like this whole like chaos before this tribal council was all about who's trying to rally who, and that's why we should get him out. Tyson was saying that. Like, who was it? Who did he want to go after? Was it Nick or was it was somebody?
Tyson wanted to go after Sophie. And they asked Adam, and Adam was like, "No, I think we should go after Sarah." Dumb move. Adam should have just said, "Yes, sir, I'll vote Sophie. Thank you very much."
Right.
And he was through to another tribal.
Yeah, that would have been it. That would have been all. But then he says Sarah, and then Tyson's like, well, if Adam can get everybody against Sarah, then definitely. Or was it Nick who went against Sarah? That was the confusing part, because it felt like it was both Nick and Adam both were doing this at the same time, but not really working together, because clearly Adam and Nick have not been working together ever. But for some reason, they sometimes want the same people out.
I think both Nick and Adam there's some reason they both wanted to keep Sophie in the game. What that reason is, I'm not exactly sure. Other than, Adam was with Sophie with the Ben tribe, like she was with those guys. But Ben, when Adam was there, he was worried that Sophie and Ben were too close. And I just don't understand why he felt like he had to break up Sarah and Ben. Just get rid of one of them. Doesn't matter. Like, stop calling the shots at him. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're on the bottom. You're the easy vote. The best thing you can do is hope to get to third place and get, like, just get to the final three. That's
right.
That's the best you could hope.
Well, Adam should just get out of the way and let these big players take swings at each other, right? But he has to sort of be involved, and he sort of has to be the instigator, because if he's not, he doesn't know what's going on enough, and then he's too nervous, and then he has to create all this drama, and everyone's like, they're over it, so get rid of him.
Like Tyson said tonight also, and I do think Tyson might win this season because he's reading the situation very well. He said tonight that normally he likes to know what's going on, like where there's no chaos. But this season he's saying that there's chaos going on, but it's actually kind of benefiting him. Whereas before, like normally he likes to, he had it with Monica and Jervis, and they were calling the shots all the way through to the end. Boston Rob likes to play that way. Kim Sprodlin likes to play that way. The players that don't like to play that way are like Tony. Tony likes chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he thrives in chaos. He's still there for a reason.
Well, he's not doing it much right now. I think he's just going with the flow for the most part.
He's playing. He's playing passive, but he does well when it's chaotic. And so when chaos inevitably happens, because it happened tonight and it's going to continue to happen going forward, I think Tony, will also do well going forward.
Right. It just depends how much, if he can keep his mouth shut, I think, with Tony.
Yes.
What about with Sarah? Like I get very kind of confused with her, because I'm like, okay, like she has this reputation as sort of being a cutthroat player, and yet she seems to be playing a fairly loyal game this time. But she played right. She has to. I think she knows that people are going to be looking for her to sort of be a backstabber. But she did this move where she gave her reward to Nick tonight for his birthday. And then right after, Nick was not very grateful about the Chinese food for his birthday, because he turned right around and wanted to vote Sarah out, considering that to be some sort of Trojan horse. This gift of Chinese food is going to turn out to be poison, and I'm going to get voted out by Sarah. I'll let my guard down. So it's preemptive strike. I have to come for her first.
Right. She also pissed off like a Jeremy, who Jeremy wanted to talk to Nick because Nick was on the bottom. And I think Jeremy wants to start like a bottom alliance to overtake the Sarah, the Sophies, the Bens. But she prevented that by doing that. So in a way, I think it was a very good move by Sarah, as long as she didn't get voted out, which she didn't. So I think everybody will forget about that, for the next go around. Even though it's like a week away for us, it's only, a couple days for them in the game. But I do think that once they go to another tribal, I don't think Sarah will be targeted because she gave Nick the reward.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, I don't even know how seriously that put her in danger this time. At least a little bit. People were throwing her name around quite a bit, and Tyson's not even really being talked about. They mentioned the tribal council as sort of a potential easy boot, because I guess he came back, and that's sort of the default thing. But really, it seems like as long as he's playing this passive game, like, what do you want to do? I'm hearing it's this. What do you think about that? That will serve to Tyson's advantage.
Tyson is also friends with Sarah. They showed that in the pre-merge, that Sarah and Tyson really got along with each other. And whether or not that means they won't vote each other out, I don't think I don't think that matters. But I do think that it might keep each other around for a couple of votes when they normally would not have. Right. So I do think that some of the better players, like, I just wonder like when they're going to start targeting players like Denise that are just flying under this radar, and if they don't take these players out, they're just going to walk their way to the final five.
Like if you were walking in right now, like you're coming back from Edge of Extinction, and you're whoever, let's say you're Boston Rob, for instance, like, who do you want out the most? Like, who's the biggest threat? Like personal relationships aside, even maybe what happened earlier in the game aside, like, who's the biggest threat? Like, is it Kim? Is it Denise? Is it I don't think it's a Tony.
I think it would be Sophie. I think a lot of players coming back from Edge would want to get rid of Sophie.
I agree. I think that you should definitely get rid of Sophie. She's clearly kind of running things all behind the scenes. She is well poised to be in like the final four, depending on how well her alliance does. So yeah, get rid of Sophie. and Ben for that matter. I think that Ben has proven himself to be quite a bit of a threat, and I'm not sure if people are going to come for him anytime soon. But
Boston
he could
Rob,
be somebody.
if it was Boston Rob, he would definitely go after Ben. He hates Ben. And a lot of players I don't think like Ben. Like obviously Adam couldn't stand him by the end here. Like they just did not like each other.
Right.
And I think there's reasons for that go beyond the game. I think personally they didn't like each other, and I think which is interesting because Ben seems like a nice guy, and so does Adam, but they just seem to get on each other's nerves, and that's you spend that like what is it? Were they on day 23? You spend 23 straight days with the same person, and you can never vote this person out because there's always somebody else. I think that gets to you, like eventually
Right.
you have that chance. And
yeah, well, I think what did Adam said about Ben was that Ben plays way more like Boston Rob than Ben would like to admit.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Yeah. You do see a player like Adam. Like we haven't really dissected enough of what he did to kind of break down his relationships. Like I do think like he should have bit his tongue quite a bit with Ben and just got along. And he let his emotions get to him too much in this game. Whereas in Millennials versus Gen X, I think he was a lot smarter and a lot like just he was just less of a dick. And I just think he's been a bit of a dick this season when he didn't need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just don't think he's always that. I don't think he's as nice as maybe we think he is. Right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and but we do see how he is in the confessionals, and he's colorful. He's a colorful guy, a colorful character for sure. Good TV, like I said, and I'd rather watch Adam than watch Denise.
Yeah, on the boring meter, Denise is pretty boring. I think Kim is being pretty boring right now. She won immunity tonight, and there wasn't even much to that. I think she just did it because she wanted to win immunity tonight. Not that she needed it so much. Maybe they talk about resume building, but I don't think they're going to care about who won immunities when they didn't need to win immunity. I think it's going to come down to if you were on the chopping block and then you saved yourself, that's admirable. But just like I got to the end and guess what? I won 5 immunity challenges along the way. So therefore, I'm best, or that's my resume. I don't think that's gonna fly this season.
I agree. I think winners are going to respect gameplay, not overall competition. How they did the challenges. I don't think that'll matter. It'll be all about the social play because it's hard this season. It's hard this season because a lot of the players are all good at challenges for the most part. Other than Sandra, they're all capable of winning immunity. Where you have it's so like why are they like unless like somebody went on a crazy immunity run or did what Ben did and found all these idols to save themselves when they needed it, then yes, maybe that person would win. But other than that, like who's playing the best social game right now? Like for me, it's like Sophie is playing the best.
Well, Sophie's clearly playing maybe the best strategic game, the most under the radar game, it seems like, because we didn't see any of her, but we feel her presence a lot, that she's some sort of running things or has a lot of influence. So yeah, I guess you can call that a social game in a sense. But in terms of just who's got the relationships and the connections, I feel like it's like Michelle or somebody like that who seems like is kind of connected everywhere, even though Jeremy to a certain extent. These people who are just kind of friendly and likable, Tyson has that aspect to him too, who aren't threatening and are, after this coming into this episode, Michelle is very upset with, she's left out of the vote to get rid of Wendell. And she's like, she was deprived of getting to write Wendell's name down. So she kind of felt like she was out of it. I guess they didn't tell her because they used to date. But she wasn't consideration tonight. Nobody was talking about, let's get rid of Michelle. Like she was clearly on the other side of that vote now. So she's not really with the the main pack. Let's get rid of her. That wasn't a consideration. So I think she bounces back very well, and she has a few times in this game come back from sort of being on the outs of what the majority is doing, but everyone seems to get along with.
Yeah, which is a good that's a way to win, especially in these winners all-star seasons. It's the player that everybody kind of likes, and then just kind of like is they kind of forget about. And you see a player like that get to the end in these all-star seasons, like Amber did when she won, when Sandra did when she won. You see these players that may not be the best, most savvy strategic player, like a Sophie, but you have a very might be right. Michelle might be the best social player out there.
Yeah, I think she's one of the best I've seen in recent memory because she just seems like she's way likable, easy to talk to. You feel like you can work with her, trust her. Even in that scene way back a few episodes, like early on when Rob was still there, and it was right after Adam tells Rob that they're going to vote a Parvati. And Rob's going up, and she's like, "Hey, so are we voting out whoever it was at that point?" I think it was like Natalie or whatever, and he's like, "Don't give it to me. Don't tell me that." But you believe it. You believe Michelle in that moment. Like, yeah. Hey, Michelle, how's it going? And you feel like she's giving you the scoop, right? And I think that Michelle just has that sort of calming effect in the game. Like, she's not even a player. Like, among the winners that I didn't really remember having watched all these past seasons, like Michelle was one of these ones. I'm like, I don't really remember her. I did watch her season, but she's not one of these memorable winners. I kind of had her in the same category as like a Denise, but she's been, I think, a little bit more than that. I think she's just a bit more. She's better TV. I think maybe that's the difference. Whereas Denise is fun from just a pure game standpoint because you can tell that she's kind of like a Sophie, like this sort of like waiting in the wings, sort of silent, deadly killer that's going to come out at the end and sort of win the whole thing out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of those players still left in the game. Nick is a bit like that too. He might come out of nowhere and win the game. I liked Nick today. Today was the first night I actually really liked him, where he said like, "Screw it, I'm not going to be this passive player anymore. I'm going to see what's going on." And then he got nervous when he saw his name come up 2 or 3 times or whatever it was. He goes, "It's me," because usually like those they're smart. They know like when they show the first few names, like they showed Sarah and Adam's names first, and then they showed Nick. And then usually when they do that, it's actually going to be the third person that gets voted out. But that's not what happened. So that was interesting. You also just all the players left, like a lot of them are just not the big targets, and they're the good social players. But you also have other players like Ben that I don't feel like it is a good social player, but has formed a good alliance with the people in control. He's formed an alliance with like the Sophie and Sarah, and they seem to know really what the fuck they're doing.
I think Sarah and Sophie will drop Ben as soon as they can, but not till like final 5 or something like that. Because how many do we have right now? We have I should know this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 people left.
10 people?
Yeah. So half the people. We're halfway through because we start off with 20, right? 20 winners. So half of them are gone now.
I see a closer vote next week. I see a more of a 6-4 or a 5-5 tie. I don't see a unanimous vote or like we had today. Kind of like we didn't have a unanimous, but it was pretty clear Adam was going home, and everybody kind of made that.
Yeah, there was sort of like the way that the tide was going, but yeah, who is it next time? Who's like? You think it will definitely be a split 5-5? Like there will sort of be a power play in this next vote.
I think that you could see a 6-4 or a 5-5, or what you might see is if Jeremy finds out his name is on the chopping block, he might use his safety without power and not even go to travel.
Oh, he might. Yeah, that's true. So who we got? We got Jeremy. Jeremy's got Nick, Tyson. That's 3 people, right? Who else is with Jeremy? Probably Michelle.
Yeah, maybe, and then maybe Denise.
Right. So there you go. So then they have the numbers, and they'll get rid of Sarah or Sophie.
Well,
or Ben.
You could see, like, I think the other side is what you got. Sarah, Sophie, Tony, and Ben That's 4. I think they're 4 strong right there.
Yeah, but I just think that I think that Jeremy's been talking about getting rid of Tony for a little while. I could see him, maybe making a play there. I think that Tony will try to that Jeremy will try to rally against somebody, against whoever is in that Sophie sort of aligned group very soon. Next, that will be what I think he'll do, and then he might play his power, or if he feels like he's the target.
Yeah, you're right. And then who has the idols right now? I think Sophie has an idol, and does Sarah have an idol?
Yes.
I think both those players have idols. So that's they're in such a dominant position as an alliance. Sophie, Sarah, Ben,
and Kim has one too.
Oh, that's it. No, it's Sophie and Kim. Those are and we don't. That's the one player we don't even talk about on this season is Kim.
She's the one in my draft. She's my player. She's all I have left.
There's nothing to talk. There's nothing to talk about with her. Like even tonight, she's talking to Denise and are like, "Hey, yeah, we could go this way or we could go that way." There's no they don't care. There's no clear direction. They don't have a power alliance with anybody. They just seem to be with each other, Denise and Kim, and they don't. They're just like, as long as it's not me, they'll just kind of keep picking players off.
Right. It was kind of interesting because last week we saw Jeremy and Denise win the individual immunities, right? And they both felt that put them in a position of power, that gave them some sort of clout because, hey, you can't vote me out tonight. I will be here for the next 3 days after tonight, no matter what. So work with me. But Kim didn't use her immunity in that way. That's why I thought it was kind of a waste for her to win this when she didn't need it. And then she didn't really use it, is in any kind of an influence way. They showed us a little bit of that, but really, you could tell that Kim was kind of just going with whatever way the wind was blowing.
Do you think Ben would he was the one that was right there with Kim? Do you think he would have used it in a better way?
Oh, I think so. I think Ben would have used it to try to push his agenda. I think that could have backfired him ultimately. I think that could have annoyed a lot of people moving forward. So maybe it wouldn't have been good for him if he'd done it. But I think he would have used it in a more active way. I think he would have just tried to make some use of it and show, hey, I won the immunity and I'm the best and I'm Ben and I know how to win immunity better than anybody. Whether I find it in the jungle or I win it here. So that's Ben, and he's kind of he's kind of a Boston Rob archetype, really. Like they're more alike than they like to admit. Maybe Adam's got a point.
I agree. Yeah, I think most of the time, I think you want to get rid of the player that is the most like you. I that's what we saw kind of with Denise and getting rid of Sandra. We've seen it a fair bit, but Rob Sestito made a good point about whoever is Jeremy's friend is the person that has to go home. And that's happened twice this season alone. Natalie went home, and then Wendell went home. Both of them were like Jeremy's friend, and that was not allowed.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be Jeremy's friend if I was playing. If Jeremy wanted to be in an alliance with me, I would say no, because I'd be like, everybody who's ever friends with you does not do.
Seems to get blindsided, right at the worst moment, either first boot or merge boot.
Right, so Tyson better be careful because I think he might be next.
Well, Tyson might be next anyway. So yeah, if I were Tyson, I'd really want to find an idol or flush idols, find out who has idols and put votes on them, stuff like this. He has to. I'm glad he's playing a little bit more proactive because he's who I have in the draft. I still do like his chance to win, but he has to be careful. He has to find somebody who's his closest ally.
Who's closest ally?
Tyson.
It seems I don't know if he has one. He seems maybe it might be like Nick, maybe I guess.
I think
which is
right.
Weird.
I think you're right. I think it's Nick because I do think Nick gave him the scoop tonight that now it was a lie, but he was saying to him tonight that your name's been thrown around, and he said normally Nick said he normally doesn't do that, but he wanted to create chaos. But I still think that. And at the end of the day, Nick and Tyson might end up working together.
Well, so and Nick voted Tyson out effectively, or Nick was part of that vote of his getting voted out the first time.
And Tyson gave him the fire token. So there's this weird mutual admiration between them as well.
Right. Yeah, they're competing, but they also respect each other. They're like frenemies.
Yes.
It's the frenemy alliance. Yeah. you want to do a draft update for? So we're in an 8-person group, includes our significant others and friends and people we've been watching Survivor with for a long time. So let's bring that in. Share.
We should actually get some members from our draft into our Survivor recaps next week. See if any of them want to join us and give their thoughts on the season and who they think's doing well and who's not.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's have a look here. All right, so you can see. Okay, so maybe we'll go to the overview here by person, who had who and who was left. So we'll start with Jane. Jane had Wendell and Ben. Jane was very concerned that Ben was going to get it tonight. She was not happy. I was hoping that it would be Ben. Sorry, Jane. But she lives to fight another day. And, we'll see with Wendell. He could come back from Mitch. Amanda's looking strong. Jeremy and Sarah. These are players not even aligned with each other, but are both well positioned. Mostly, like they're, everybody's kind of a target. So I don't know if they're bigger targets than anybody else. But, Amanda's looking good with her 2 picks. They're going to go deep, I think. At least probably
one of them.
Yeah, one of them will go deeper than the other. One of them probably goes in the next 2 weeks. And
one of them probably gets to the final 3.
Yeah. And the other probably gets to final 3. So we'll see who that is. Jeff, you were out of this game, but you are back. You are alive with Tyson for the moment. You got Boston Rob on the edge. This tonight was sadly sayonara for Daryl, at least for now. We'll see, maybe if he can come back. But he lost Adam tonight. And Danny is also living on the edge. I don't think this is going to be the season where Danny comes back. I don't. No. Doesn't seem to be that's the story we're telling, but who knows? Well, they've fooled us before.
No, you know what? If the last Edge of Extinction, that's exactly who would come back and win. That imagine Danny comes back, wins. Everyone would be like, "What?"
Yeah, for sure. I was one of the people who got 3 people because I drafted a little later in that first round. So, I've had Amber's been out for feels like a million years now. Ethan, of course, but I still have Kim. She won immunity tonight. I don't know about Kim. Like, I felt like, she's one of those players who's going to come and win this. She's going to run this thing. I think the fact that she was on the bottom early on, and I think has really spooked her. I don't think she knows how to play, and like she's sort of just kind of holding on for the moment. Winning immunities where she can and hoping that she's sort of nobody notices her right now. Because I think she, we haven't seen Kim and Tyson connect at all. Like they don't seem to be talking. No. So like
maybe they are working together, just kind of more behind the scenes.
If they are, they're doing a great job at that. But yeah, right now Kim is sort of incognito. I don't know if she has any kind of like friendship with Sophie or not. Like remember she gave Sophie that half of the immunity earlier on. Sophie was like, "Oh, you shouldn't have given this to me. I'll vote you out in a heartbeat." But then it turns out she did give the other half back to Kim after all. And there hasn't really been anybody talk of getting rid of Kim for a while. She's been in this middle of the road floater position.
I would like to say though that the whole idea that Kim is one of the best social players in the history of the game and she dominated strategically in her season and she's one of the best ever, I disagree. I mean, she's a good player, but to say that she is this mastermind player, it's clear that she is not. She barely is able to hold an alliance in this season. She's never pivots. She just kind of, like you said, is holding on for dear life and hopes to get to the next tribal. And
I guess if you get down to like 5 or 6, you feel like I could win this as long as I get down to 6. So right out there at 10. So if I can just make it through the next 4 votes, I got a legitimate shot at winning $2 million. So whatever. Who cares? I don't need to be good TV right now. That's not what's important.
I agree. She wasn't good TV the first time she won, but she, like you said, she was always in control in the first time she won. And that's why everyone gives her all this credit, but she was playing with a whole bunch of idiots. I mean, they literally only brought one other player back from that season. It was Colton, who freaking quit and was never allowed back anyway. So that season was just a train wreck of a season. And to say she's the best ever is not accurate to me.
Right. She beat the likes of Troyzan and
Tarzan.
whatever in Tarzan, yeah, and all these like nonsense players. But yeah, I agree. Like, so I don't know. We'll see how these next few episodes play out. But right now, I don't think Kim's looking that strong. Sean, a former coworker, a friend of mine, and ours. He has had 3 people as well. Sandra is, we know she's not coming back. She's definitely gone for good. But he has Tony and Denise, and that's those are 2 players that I can, I think Denise is sort of like looking like she could be getting that winner edit. I think Denise is a strong consideration to win. Tony feels like that's more of an underdog thing. I think if Tony were to come and win this thing, I think that would be a surprise. But I want to sort of see Tony stay around for as long as possible.
I'm surprised Tony is still there. I'm very surprised that his game has not been blown up. He's not blown up himself. He's not made him he's barely ever gone and searched for idols.
Yeah.
So it's just strange that his paranoia hasn't gotten the best of him. He's great TV. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I love Tony. He's literally the opposite of Denise. He picked 3 pretty good players there. Sean did.
Yeah, I remember we were ribbing him a little bit during the draft, because Sean's more of a Big Brother person, not much of a Survivor person, and he was just so he was a little bit like picking wildly, and Sandra was kind of one we kind of took him on one because they knew, she's 2-time winner. I don't see them letting her win again, and we thought that Tony was going to be sort of this like early boot because that was sort of the feelings coming in. It's like, oh, Tony. How is Tony going to survive the first 2 weeks? But Tony's done well. And I don't even think Tony is the person to get out next, unless the only reason they would get Tony out next is because they want to take a number away from sort of the Sophie Sarah side. Not because Tony's a disruptive player, not because Tony's chaos or any of that. Like, it's just because he's a number for another side. And if anybody comes from him, I think it's going to be Jeremy.
I agree. I think Tony and Jeremy will go after each other at some point.
Yeah. I don't know why you think firefighters and cops would work together, but no.
They have a mutual respect for each other, but they'll cut each other down when they need to.
Just looking over at Sean's wife, Jen, another friend of ours. She has only got Michelle left, but Michelle, like we said, is maybe playing one of the best social games, and I like Michelle's chances of making it through maybe 2-3 more votes to sort of be in the end game and looking maybe at the finish line. So and Parvati and Yul, like, I don't know, like, Parvati's play tonight, great. Like, Parvati's technically out of the game, but maybe Parvati had one of the smartest gameplay moments of this episode, having shown that advantage to everybody, traded the food, curried potential jury votes later on if she happens to sort of come back into the game. I think it was really smart by Parvati. And Yul, I think Yul, if he gets back into the game, who knows what happens. If him and Sophie can reunite, I think that Yul could be a really dangerous player.
Yep.
And then lastly, Jamil, our longtime friend. I think coming up on a decade, we've been friends with Jamil. And one of the biggest Survivor fans I know. He has 2 people left. So he has Natalie, was the first boot of this game, who is she's been on the edge for a while. It's the edge billionaire. But she has Nick and Sophie left. This was an interesting trio that he picked up. And I think Sophie, like we've been kind of talking about her, she had maybe the least amount of screen time tonight. We can't stop talking about what Sophie's up to, which is kind of crazy.
Sophie's this player that everyone knows, it seems like, that the type of player that win these all-star seasons are the players like Sophie or like Kim that are in the background most of the season, and then they just get to the end, and then people just respect them because they don't have as much blood on their hands as maybe another player does. But I don't know if that's going to matter this season. I think the more blood on your hands, the better if you get to the end. That's what I think.
Right. And it's all going to be about what that narrative is at the edge, right? And who's there and who they think is running things based on, Adam got voted out tonight, so he's going to give a whole bunch of information from his perspective. Yes. Right. And sort of it's this snowball effect every week at the edge. Right. And you got people like Rob and Amber who've been there forever, who won't really necessarily know if the information they're getting or the context they're getting is completely like trustworthy. So, by the end, it doesn't, who knows? Okay. Right. Like,
Here's the feeling I have. There's one player that's still in the game that I will 100% say has 0% chance to win the game, and that's Ben. I don't think Ben can win at all. I think everybody on the edge hates his guts for the most part, um, and I just don't see him winning. I just think he could get to the final three for sure, but he will not win.
Ben backstabbed. What, Rob? Was it Yule? Was one of his backstabs?
No.
Yeah, but like
they only voted out. Yeah, and then Natalie won't vote for him probably. Well, maybe you never know. But like,
Ben and Natalie don't like each other.
I think Ben voted her out. I could be wrong though about that. I'm not sure. They don't
and so did the whole Sele tribe.
Right.
Like she was back when there was like a 10-person tribe. Yeah, he did vote against her for sure. And he was part of that, as I recall. Like he's sort of been like this, like he's always like this second in command, Ben, of every like sort of pseudo alliance he's in. And he's always like never really running things. He's just sort of like this consigliere type that he's like the Joe Biden. No, he's the Dick Cheney.
You know who he's playing a lot like? He's playing a lot like Jervis in the season Tyson won. That's who he's playing a lot like.
Right.
And it's a second place game.
Who's got Ben? Oh, yeah, Jane. Jane's got Ben. Well, you heard it here, Jane. Jeff says that Ben can't win. You better hope your Wendell comes back.
Better be ready.
By the way, we're gonna talk about that song. And then because they played it during the challenge tonight, and it was not great. And Nick's the other one I guess we haven't talked about last. He's the last one we need to touch on. So here, I'm gonna take this off so we can see everybody again. Nick, the hyena, maybe the king of the hyenas.
He looks the most like a hyena.
Yeah, he's the one I don't want to win. But I think that as long as he doesn't win, I will be very happy with Nick because he is the hyena. I don't want to see the hyena win. I want to see the lion win. I want to see the Lion King. This is the king of all winners.
If
or queen, king or queen, the ruler of all winners.
To keep it back to Lion King, I think if like let's say Nick is more like Simba, he's like that little Lion King, and if he grows into a lion and grows into a big target and makes a lot of big moves out in the open, not in behind the scenes, I think people will start to like Nick more. That's what people want to see. That's what people cheer for. People don't like the smarmy backstabbing players unless it's done really, really well.
Which is almost impossible in a season like this.
That's right. So but tonight he at least took one step forward where he was like, "Screw it, I'm going to cause chaos." That was part of why Russell Hantz was such a popular character, was because that was his strategy, was to cause chaos and then take advantage of that chaos.
Right, and similar to a Tony.
Yes,
but I don't think you can. I think Tony's smart enough to realize you can't play like that. Like you can when you sort of have this new crop of players and they're just sort of like so mesmerized to be in like on a TV show and be part of this process. But all these people, like a lot of them are playing only for the second time. At least they're playing for the second time. A lot of them have played like 4 times or 5 times, and sort of this is old hat. They're not mesmerized by being on TV or by being on an island at all. And so when you got Russell hiding the machete or something like that, I think that has just way more effect because they're battling like the starvation. I think after you have that survivor experience, I think to a certain extent you at least know what you're in for, and maybe that helps keep your mind clear.
I mean, people say that Russell Hantz played the same game in Heroes versus Villains, but he actually did not. He did not cause as much chaos as he did in the first time around. What he did, he played a little bit. He backstabbed for sure, but he did it a little bit more under the radar, like he did when he took out Tyson. You know, he basically threw a Hail Mary in the air and hoped it worked, and it did. Whereas he was way more in control of the chaos in his first season because like you said, rookie players make rookie mistakes. And when you have these all-stars, most of them aren't going to make rookie mistakes. We saw one tonight, though. Adam made a rookie mistake tonight. If someone tells you we're going to vote this person out, not you, you vote that person out. You don't
And just
start.
go and pray it's not you. That's what you got to
Yes,
do.
you don't start dictating. You have to read the situation. Are these people telling me the truth? Once he figured out they were telling him the truth, all he had to do was, "Yep, yes, sir. I'll vote Sophie." Like what was
Even
he?
if even if his bonehead move to like rip that thing off of the podium had worked, if somehow that had worked, like he still gets voted out, I think, next tribal because like they're like this guy is just too much. Who needs this guy? Unless there's like some other fight or some other development, maybe Adam lives to fight another day. But like I wouldn't want this guy around. So especially after this,
They got rid of Adam because they were tired of him doing what he did tonight, which was try to dictate votes he had no right dictating.
He was becoming the Boston Rob. He was becoming the person he most hated. Him.
That's right.
He
That's
hates
right.
men and Boston Rob. He was becoming that archetype.
Yeah, exactly. And he was doing it because he couldn't accept the fact that those guys were more in control than he was.
Maybe Adam's like the chameleon of Survivor, right? He just has all this knowledge of every player type, and in his desperation, he's like, "I'll become the Ben type. I'll become the Boston Rob type." I remember when Boston Rob get us to all like empty our bags at Tribal. I'll like start pushing people around and just make Tribal so like uncomfortable that I will start to get what I want.
That's exactly what he did. He made it uncomfortable. And yeah, I think you're right. I think there's some truth in what you said that he looks at what he tries to play, you do this to me, I'm going to do that to you. But he overdoes it when he doesn't need to at the same time.
He had no idea. He had no idea if he was capable of doing that. Like he had never tried to do that before. That's not how Adam plays. Not quite like that. Not like that in your face. At a tribal like that. So yeah, I think he's just kind of it was Hail Mary. I'm desperate. I'm almost certain it's me. Maybe like to go up there and rip a piece off of the production design.
Hey, I think he knew he was going home. That was definitely worth a shot. I agree with him. It was worth a shot. I would have thought to say I would have regretted it had he not done that and got him voted out, and it happened to be an idol. Could you imagine?
Like I get you could make an argument that it makes he just looks stupid, but I think whatever. Like who cares? At least he'll be remembered for trying something. Like he went.
He knew he was going home. I think like
kicking and screaming, like his fingernails, like holding on to the floor as he's dragged away. He's he loves Survivor so much. You got to admire that part at least. That Adam is just one of these guys who just loves the game so much and will do almost anything to stay in it for as long as he can, especially in a season like this. And especially knowing now that with this whole COVID-19 pandemic, like the next seasons of Survivor have been delayed. They were supposed to go into production in March and they were canceled. So this is going to be the only season for a while.
I do think that they were shooting the next season.
They were starting to, but they canceled all of it.
Had they already played? Like had they already been on like day 4 or day 5 or like
maybe like I think my understanding was they had just like maybe got in there. Production had just begun and they pulled the whole plug. So this was probably the only season we're getting in calendar 2020. I would.
Yeah, we might not get our next season until February, like a year from now.
If we're lucky, yeah. And that's only if airlines and everything goes. But yeah, they normally they were doing the casting in like January, February. They were getting all that sorted out. They were doing their location. Like really now they just have their whole setup in the Philippines. Like they just played the same seasons at the same beaches. They have their islands. They're not in
the Philippines. They're in
Fiji. They're Fiji. Sorry. But I think they've just bought or they've made some kind of deal to use all of those islands on an ongoing basis instead of like going to a new location every year like they did in the early days. Like people just want to see people play the game. People don't necessarily need to see people starve on the Sahara.
Okay, so do you know what how many cases of COVID-19 are in Fiji?
I would imagine not many.
15.
Yeah, it's pretty low. Right, it's not a big country. How many people live in Fiji, though? It's like
it's probably a few mil. Like I don't know what it is, but let's see.
Fiji's only not even 1 million people.
Not even a mil, yeah. So
okay, 15 people out of 1 mil. That's kind of standard, isn't it? It's kind of.
I mean, that's pretty containable when you say. I would hope it is anyway.
Yeah, but like, I just think people would be like, no, I need to go home to my families. I just don't think that they would continue production. Like Big Brother got canned, and that's already people in a quarantine.
No, I agree. I see what but that's the angle that you're probably right that it would have been production's family back home that they would have been wanting to go back and
Right, not to mention, yeah, like people are just you're in big groups. There's like thousands of people who work on Survivor behind the scenes.
right.
There's no way you could pull this off right now. Not, especially with all the air travel being restricted, all these people being called back to their home countries. No way.
Yeah.
So this, hey, we gotta soak it in with Survivor Winners at War for everything we got, because we only get, probably a few more weeks of Survivor, and then we're gonna be out of it for a while.
That's
What
right.
are the Survivor podcasters going to do? What are the Sister Ninos of the world going to do?
Well, you know what? That guy's pretty resourceful. I think he'll go back and watch old shows or what. He'll figure something out. He knows he's really good at that.
Yeah. Big Brother. I don't even know if we're going to get a Big Brother season this year. U.S. Big Brother U.S. because Big Brother Canada was already a couple weeks in, and they pulled the plug on that.
When does Big Brother usually start? It's June, right?
June, like later in June, sort of last week of June is sort of when they go in.
I would hope that the curve is going down by then, but who knows? The States is in such a bad shape right now that compared to Canada, I think they say Canada right now it's starting to plank the curve, so it's hopefully going to start going down in the next 2 weeks. And if that happens, then you'll see a lot of positivity on it.
They haven't officially canceled it yet, among other things. There's a number they haven't canceled our ball hockey league, even though city facilities are closed until the end of June. Did you see that?
Is that right? They're closed to the end of June. Wow.
Yeah. So no. I can't. And on my softball league too. Like we can't have any softball because all the facilities are not usable until at least the end of June. That's what they've announced so far. So my softball league and my hockey league. And where we were originally talking about, oh yeah, Big Brother. They're probably all holding on. Oh, maybe we can start like sort of July, right? And we'll have a condensed season.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea. So
yeah,
but
who knows? Like right tonight was supposed to be the start of the NHL playoffs, and who knows? I don't think we're getting a Stanley Cup this year. I don't know if we're going to get an NBA championship this year. The MLB starts talking about starting in Phoenix. I know this is all sports talk. It's not related to the Survivor, but it just goes to show the context of how much the world is shut down right now.
Well, eventually we're going to get to what would have been the reunion show for this season of Survivor. I kind of that can't be happening, right?
They might do a virtual one. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that.
It's got to be so. Yeah. Is that better? It might be, because if they can do it right, I think if they plan it out well, with sort of like a big virtual chat with everybody, because they can probably do that. Why not?
It's just a 20-person Zoom. I mean, that's doable.
It's not. They have a lot of time to plan for it. They have a few weeks to plan it out and get it right. They could take their time with it and make it perfect and edit it into something really nice.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy is WrestleMania went forward.
Like, yeah, was that smart?
No, not smart. Opposite of smart. Dumb.
Yeah, because they filmed. I think because they just wanted to sell it as a pay-per-view, right? So they found a way to do these matches. But I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, UFC also is doing I think their next event's going forward too. So I don't know. It just seems stupid.
So there was their thinking, if it's only two guys fighting in a ring, or sweaty guys in a ring, that they're not going to transmit the disease to each other. Like that
would definitely transmit the disease to each other, 100%.
It's a crowd of less than 5, so therefore it's okay.
It's they don't make their money from the well, they do make money from the gate, but they make most of their money from the pay-per-view. So if they can still provide the event, they know everybody's going to watch it. Everyone's at home and just clamoring for a sport to watch. So I understand the marketing part of it. But at the same time, that's why I wonder what Survivor's ratings have been this season ever since the COVID thing started. I would imagine they're up by a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the only new things that is coming out every week right now. It's outside. It's got people doing stuff, socializing with each other. Yeah, and it's maybe one of the only titles that will actually be won this year. Almost no sports league or major event or entertainment event has been awarded. Outside of a couple of things, we had the Oscars and we had
the Briar and the Scotties that got awarded.
We had the Briar, the Scotties, and now this and Survivor. So it's a short list.
Yeah.
Oh, and we had the Mainway tournament because that happened right before.
Right. The prestigious Mainway
prestigious Mainway tournament right before.
And the Battle of the Sexes.
And the Battle of the Sexes curling event. So we had 3 months of activities, and then the whole thing got shut down. So, but TV wise, yeah, we're not getting any Survivor again this year. After this.
Speaking of Survivor, did you know that there was a Survivor video game made for the Wii?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I think I might have played it.
I'm still waiting for my sensor to. I have my sensor, but I'm waiting. I need a Bluetooth transmitter, and I'm waiting for that to come. Once that comes, I'm going to play my Survivor game, and I want to see what it's like.
All right. Yeah, well, I don't know. I can't be very good. I don't think you can simulate something like Survivor.
No, I own a video game.
no, it's that's very hard to do. I think that Big Brother, these things exist on TV because they can only exist on TV. Like they just don't exist in real life. These kinds of games and scenarios, and over a course of weeks and months, unless you have, I guess, oodles of money to do it with other people who would want to do it with you. And then it's not even that fun because you all know each other, and this whole experiment is its own thing. All right, I think we're winding down.
Yeah, I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Did you look at the preview for next week?
Yeah, it was basically Jeremy and Tony going after each other. So, well, that'll be exciting. We'll see what happens there. I don't know. I don't think that's actually what's going to happen, though. I don't think either of those guys will go home.
I hope not. I want them both to stay around.
Because I see if Jeremy knows they're coming for him, he'll play his power. And then Tony, I don't think will go home.
I want it to be Ben. Get rid of Ben.
I could see it being like I could see it being like Denise or something like that. Like somebody that's under the radar that isn't in the Sophie group that is a dangerous player. Sophie's eventually going to want to get rid of Kim or Denise.
Yeah, well, like they're all dangerous. That's why it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, right?
Yeah.
Like, even the under the radar players, if you will, no one's really under the radar. Everybody could win. So that's why it's going to be fun to see.
Except Ben. Ben can't win. But anyway.
Except for Ben. Only, we keep forgetting. I have to make sure I let Jane know when we get out.
Oh, you will. So that's been episode 9. War is Not Pretty. Season 40. Winners at War. We'll see you next week. And see you then. Bye.
All right. See ya. Have a good night.